Bonjour og velkommen til den her afsnit af Gaming. I den her uge bliver vi vist gennem PC-versionen af Battlefield's Bad Company 2, som i øvrigt også er ugens største spiludgivelse.
Hi, my name is Anders Gjellenberg and I'm the producer for the PC version of Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Producenten af sidste uges store udgivelse, Napoleon Total War, viser os, hvordan slaget forløber i denne stortitel. Og så har vi haft en hyggelig snak med en af spilbranchens største ikoner, manden bag bl.a. det kommende Natal-spil, Peter Molyneux. Til sidst i udsendelsen har Nicolas fået en snak med pro-gameren Tim Henriksen. Men over flere omgange i det her afsnit af Gaming vil du kunne se, hvordan slaget i Total War fungerer.
The Napoleonic Age. A time of epic land battles and naval engagements. Of political unrest and widespread revolution. An era defined by one legendary general.
Hi, I'm Kieran Brigden, Studio Communications Manager for the Creative Assembly. Today we're going to show you a 2-on-2 multiplayer battle in Napoleon Total War. The battlefield we're fighting over will be Waterloo, one of the historical scenarios available in Napoleon, and a battle map for multiplayer play. I'll be playing as the British, led by the valiant General Picton, whose top hat is the source of his power. My allies in this venture will be the Prussians, also a capable and standard force, very well drilled with very good elite infantry units. We'll be seeking to dominate and take the valuable middle ground of Waterloo against an opposition of a combined Spanish and French force.
Vi kommer tilbage til slagmarken lige om lidt, men først en smut over til Nicolas, som har fået fine gæster.
Hej alle sammen. Jeg sidder her på dejlige Islands Brygge i intet mindre end det storslåede IT-universitet. En rigtig flot bygning, men ved siden af mig, der sidder ingen ringere end Peter Molyneux, som altså er manden, en af mændene i hvert fald, bag Natal. En rigtig, rigtig slem kæl, men på den gode måde. So Peter, Natal is probably some of the most expected gaming accessory, if we can call it that, in the coming year. What is like the vision for you? Where do you see it take gaming?
Well, before I answer that question, what you've seen it, what are you excited about?
Well, okay, for me, personally, on a personal level, the biggest problem for me is that I don't have anything to hold on to. We were at E3 and we saw the whole presentation and the ball play, but I play like FPS games. I like to shoot people online, of course. And where's the gun gonna go? Is it gonna be like used and like this, or? That is my biggest concern.
Well, and that's a funny thing, because you fell right into my trap perfectly.
Yes.
Because I can remember back in the PC days when we, mouse and keyboard, and then we had first-person shooters. Everybody said, "Look, PCs, you can only play first-person shooters on PCs." Because how could you haven't got enough keys to do fast Weatherman switching, the mouse is very quick, you can look round, aiming is super precise. And then, games like Halo came along, they did the cursor adjustment perfectly, they did the weapon swapping on the ground, they completely changed the way you played first-person shooters. And what you're doing with Natal is you're trying to, and lots of people, when they look at Natal, they try and think, well, how do I do this on that? Well, really, don't think like that. You should think, this is a completely new medium. It's a completely new way. It's like the difference between reading a book and watching a film. It is, and I could say, when you read a book, you can see inside a character's head, can't you? I mean, the authors quite often write, a person was thinking like this. When you watch the film, you lose that. But films are just as, if not better than books. And that's what the thing with Natal. The experiences you'll have are going to be completely different from the experiences of just holding on to a controller. So don't think of, I'm going to hold my gun because my arm will get tired. We'd be crazy to force your arm to get tired. Think about completely new experiences. I mean, there's so many things that you can, as a designer, you can do with Natal that you can't do with a console. And there's so many, and with a controller. It'd be simply because you haven't got people's hands tied to this piece of plastic.
Like the limitations, do you feel there are any limitations? Because I'm thinking, like, as I talked about the FPS shooters, and I'm also thinking sports games. If I wanted to play a football game, I would imagine myself running around in my living room, knocking everything over, my child, everything.
Now, you see, what you're doing at the moment is you're facing the problems that we designers have faced all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. No, Natal has limitations. It has real limitations, just like any device has limitations. We can't request you to run around, all over the place. But there's a funny thing is that the mouse, when the mouse was first introduced, when it was first designed and first introduced, people thought they needed an infinitely long desk. Because they didn't realise that you could pick the mouse up and you could move it back again. And it's second nature to us now. Yeah. And us designers are having to, go through that process. So, yeah, you're right, is that we can't ask you to run all over your living room. Your living room's probably not big enough anyway, and you probably would...
No, it's not.
You'd probably fall out of a window somewhere. But again, you're thinking... as designers, are thinking through those problems.
Is there any... branch where you say this is where we have the best potential? Because as we talked about sports games, it has to be pretty hard to do. Is there any genre which is easy, if you know what I mean?
There's a lot of genres that I think you can reinvent with Natal incredibly well. Now, do you remember the old adventure games?
Yeah.
You remember the old adventure, the old text-based adventure games?
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if we went back and revisited that.
Yeah.
But imagine if that adventure game was actually set inside your living room. Those are the sort of things that have been impossible to do before.
Yeah.
Where, you feel more like the character in the adventure game than ever before. We've forgotten about those things because those were very text-based ones. You used to have to type in and they didn't translate to the console and, they kind of went out the window. Now we've got Natal back. Maybe you can bring those up again, which is not an announcement, by the way. It's just me as a designer thinking.
We now can announce.
No.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Gaming-wise, like what kind of games are you interested in yourself?
Oh, I play games every single day of my life, yeah.
At work?
I mean, I try and stop myself playing games at work. I have to be very careful because it's easy for me to excuse myself just by saying this is research, but I really know I'm just playing. So, but I play a lot of games. Modern Warfare. I played Uncharted 2. I thought that was really cool. I play on a lot of Xbox Live arcade games. Shadow Complex was really cool. I mean, there's a lot of games that I play. Yeah.
I think that's it for now, and thanks a lot.
Great, thank you very much. Very good questions.
Thank you.
Vi hopper tilbage til general Napoleon og hans mindst 10.000 mand her i slagmarkoptagelsen.
The early rush for the middle ground begins, with me committing as many of my troops as possible, and the Prussians doing the same in order to take as much ground as we can from our enemies, so as not to be forced back toward our defensive positions. The Spanish also move forward with speed. An army composed of heavy cavalry units is coming up on their flank, a deadly and quick force on the battlefield. I try and counter this by bringing my artillery very quickly into position. Horse-drawn artillery is absolutely key to position and movement on the battlefield. Setting this up early allows me to pound the French lines before they ever get into position, giving them devastating morale penalties and casualties before they arrive. Early French skirmishers now move forward, backed by French line infantry. I move my own skirmishers forward, matching the French for range and reload, hoping that the better of the two sets of men will win the day. Skirmishers begin to engage one another now in early combat, picking targets and firing at will. I back these up with a line of British infantry. The sheer power of the Redcoats cannot be undone as I pour fire onto the French advance force. I also send in a unit of cavalry to try and quickly rout the French advance. I'm forced to turn these back, however, when I realise that the French advance force has deployed stakes, a mobile defence system that allows them to drive off early cavalry attacks. Clearly it will have to be strength of arms that wins this early engagement, and I order my troops to pour fire on my French opposition. Quickly, the French try and counter with a horse charge, throwing all of their cavalry against my own men. However, I formed a square, forcing their horses to balk and rear up, throwing the riders. Their charge will now be largely ineffective against my flanks, as my troops fight them off in a very good defensive position. The French are forced to retreat, their early maneuvers now in disarray. It's important now to seize the imperative and push forward on the battlefield, disrupting the French advance once and for all. They counter with grenadiers, throwing explosives into the British square, dealing massive casualties and morale damage to my flank.
Puha, der er godt nok fuld action på slagmarken. Det her er logoet for Pixel TV, hvor Nicolas har en lidt spændende oplysning.
Hej. For alle jer, som sidder og elsker SingStar, elsker at synge jeres udenlandske favoritnummer, så har jeg rigtig, rigtig godt nyt til jer, fordi det er dog stadigvæk et rygte, skal det siges, men det ser ud som om, at der er et udelukkende dansk SingStar-spil på vej, og du har faktisk stadigvæk mulighed for at kunne måske have en lille indflydelse på, hvad for nogle sange det er, der kommer med. Så hvis du kunne tænke dig at forklare folkene bag de storslåede spil, at du rigtig gerne vil have Kim Larsen med, D.A.D., Melodi Grand Prix, klassikere eller andre, så skal du skrive det i en kommentar lige hernede under. Så skal vi selvfølgelig nok sende det videre til de respektive folk. Så er du en af dem, som elsker SingStar, ville elske det på dansk, så kom i gang med at skrive en kommentar. Hej.
Så skal vi for sidste gang i den her omgang tilbage til general Napoleon og hans mindst 10.000 mænd på slagmarken.
The Royal Scots Greys, an elite unit of British cavalry, are now free to ride to the crest of the hill where the remaining French artillery piece is located. With a single charge, I hope to destroy their only artillery option, forcing them to use the remains of their infantry against me. My Prussian ally mop up the remains of the Spanish army and begin to turn on the remains of the French, knowing now that we've all but succeeded, barring some horrible tactical blunder. My own troops have now taken up position where the French used to occupy the battlefield and are firing into the French line as it retreats towards a final bastion of defence. The French have garrisoned this stronghold, right near the position in which they started. They fire safely from the windows, causing massive casualties to my troops and taking few damage in return. I need to find some way to liberate this position and finally push on to the final hill and crush the remains of the French army. Using the trees as cover, I begin to try and formulate some form of strategy to actually destroy the French where they stand and hopefully win the battle with a final decisive move. This opportunity comes when I retarget my howitzer cannons on the building the French have occupied. With the Spanish line shattered, I'm free to use these explosives on the garrison building. The French now know that the building is all but lost. Should it collapse on above them, all of the units inside will be killed. They run literally for the hills. The final French units involved in this battle will be the elite French Old Guard. They truly will stand to the last. It's now up to me to rout and destroy the French Old Guard on this hilltop. I send a unit of line infantry to crest the hill, explosives bursting behind their back, Union Jacks waving ahead of them as they crest this final precipice and crash into the French units. It's all over for France. They must know this is it, but they fight bravely on before surrendering and retreating from the battlefield. For Prussia and Britain, a glorious victory. For France and Spain, a hideous, shaming, personally damning defeat.
Nu skal vi til noget helt andet, nemlig udvidelsen af Borderlands.
We share a common enemy, you and I. The reward for your death is second only to mine. That alone should be reason for you to join my cause. But if it is not, and your greed precedes you, their invasion stockpile will be yours.
Udvidelsen her kan kun downloades og bliver kaldt The Secret Armory of General Knox. Udover ny historie kan du i udvidelsen øge dit leveltal, og så er der nye fjender og våben. Jep, godt nyt til Borderlands-fans, men her er der godt nyt til Battlefield-fans.
Hi, my name is Anders Gyllenberg and I'm the producer for the PC version of Battlefield Bad Company 2. I'm going to give you a closer look at some of the PC-specific features, along with a first look at the new Rush multiplayer map called Valkyrie. First of all, let's start at the menus. In the PC version of Battlefield Bad Company 2, you get an integrated friend system, so you can easily hook up with your clanners and buddies and join the same servers as they are playing. Since it's a PC version, of course, we also have a server browser where you can find those dedicated low-ping servers and add them to your list of favorites. Filters and sorting help you find the optimal server, and the game client also features auto-patching, so no more searching for updates online. The UI has been rebuilt from the ground up to much better support mouse input. On the PC kit selection screen you get a full overview and can easily pick all your unlocked weapons and customizations. Same goes for squad interface. We have added a completely PC-oriented squad tab where you can join and create squads quickly at any time. Setting up my options and optimizing my frame rate is key to enjoying PC gaming. In Battlefield Bad Company 2, we utilize the extra power the PC can provide and have a substantial list of extra features you can play around with. First of all, we have unlocked the frame rate, so you can get all the FPS your machine can deliver. Secondly, you can set the field of view to whatever you like, although there is a max limit, so you can't cheat by ghosting at 200 degrees. Also, we now have complete native support for both 4:3 and 16:9 resolutions, as well as support for multiple screens. We also include some nice visual features for you with state-of-the-art hardware. Turning on the horizon-based ambient occlusion makes lighting more natural, and if you have a DX11 card you can turn on the DX11 soft shadows. The gameplay itself has received some tweaks as well, with the PC supporting 32 players instead of 24, so console you can expect an even more intense experience. The handling of the weapons has also been tightened, so you who have mastered the Twitch doesn't have to be limited by anything else than your skills. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the PC version of Battlefield Bad Company 2. It's releasing on March 2nd in North America and March 4th in Europe. See you all on the battlefield.
Og som rosinen i pølsehinden er Nicolas klar i vores studie hos Boomtown, hvor vi snakker med ugens professionelle gamer.
Hej og velkommen til vores smukke tirsdagsstudie på Intet ringer afsted, en Boomtown i København. Og Tim Henriksen, du kender måske det her sted bedre end nogen af os andre.
Jeg kender det udmærket i hvert fald. Jeg har i hvert fald brugt halvdelen af min ungdom herinde, tror jeg.
Så jeg der ikke ved det, der brugte Tim faktisk halvdelen af hans ungdom herinde. Han spillede for Boomtown København, og jeg arbejdede her, jeg står ved baren, og var lidt af et skår dengang som en ung kæl.
Du var hot.
Tak. Dengang, ikke? Der havde jo faktisk et rimelig godt hold.
Ja, det var okay i hvert fald. Og
du
havde i hvert fald et godt sammenhold.
Et godt sammenhold, det er rigtigt. Hvis du ser tilbage på det hold, og måske tager et kig på alle de hold, du har spillet på indtil videre, du har spillet på rigtig mange hold.
Ja.
Er der et af holdene, hvor du tænker, damn, det kan jeg sgu godt at have tilbage det hold?
Altså, vi havde det i hvert fald allersjovest, dengang vi spillede herinde med mig, Irish, Version, Sync og Elevate. Hvor vi også, altså der spillede vi også virkelig godt. Og så, altså, hvis vi kunne gøre det om dengang, hvor mig og Elevate, vi smuttede fra det hold, så tror jeg, vi ville gøre det.
Og hvad var det, der skete lige præcis, da dig og Elevate smuttede?
Men det var jo The Snake Kalk, der lige kom med et lille klanoffer og spurgte om mig og Elevate.
Var det Edge?
Ja, det var det. Mig, Elevate, Spinks, Zone og ham, vi ikke lige skulle lave et hold. Så tænkte vi, jo. Men så da vi ikke kunne få lov til at blive Boomtown, så droppede vi det lidt igen. Og så begyndte jeg gymnasiet, så stoppede jeg. Så det var det.
Men du har haft pauser sådan rimelig on and off mange gange.
Ja.
Og du er tit
2-3 gange nu i hvert fald.
Det er også okay. Du er tit vendt tilbage til CS. Hvornår har du tænkt dig at stoppe?
Altså, jeg tror ikke rigtigt, jeg kommer til at stoppe helt sådan rigtigt nogensinde. Så længe der er LAN, hvor jeg har tid til at tage afsted, så tror jeg, at jeg er der. Altså, jeg synes, det er super hyggeligt at mødes med alle gutterne og spille noget CS. Altså, det skal jeg ikke løbe. Det kan jeg ikke rigtig løbe fra.
Når dig og de bror spiller sammen, ikke? Jeg har været vidne til det op til flere gange. Rigtig mange gange. Så går det nogle gange rimelig hit for sig.
Ja, så må
er det sådan, når man er tvillinger og spiller på samme Counter-Strike-hold?
Sådan er det. Altså, sådan er det med alle brødre, tror jeg generelt. Så man snakker jo lidt hårdere til hinanden, og når man så også går op i de samme ting, så er det jo klart, at man forventer lidt. Altså, jeg har større forventninger til mine bror, end jeg har til alle andre. Og sådan er det. Altså,
så
jeg
det er
tror
faktisk
også, det
sådan lidt familie tough love-agtigt.
Jamen, det er det. Altså, og det tror jeg også, at folk, som selv har en bror, der er på nogenlunde samme alder, godt ved. Altså, sådan er det bare. Sådan ved jeg, nu arbejder jeg selv på en SFO, og de tvillingebrødre, vi har dernede, det er også nogle typer, der virkelig kan rive hovederne af hinanden, hvis de bliver sure. Så.
Hvad synes du om den danske Counter-Strike-scene? Counter-Strike? Man kan godt sige strike, fordi det kan man faktisk ikke.
Nej.
Vi siger strike. Hvad synes du om scenen lige nu?
Altså, sådan lidt op og ned, synes jeg ikke. Altså, jeg synes, Ravens har virkelig udviklet sig meget på det sidste. De har gjort det rigtig godt der til Extreme Masters, så det er jo positivt. Nu skal de bare vise, at de ikke har et one-hit wonder og også gør det godt til flere lanes. Altså, det var ikke fordi, det var en super præstation, de havde i Sverige efterfølgende. Så. Men ellers så synes jeg, at det ser tyndt ud rent talentmæssigt. Altså, man kan godt se, at der er flere og flere af de unge, der begynder at spille Source. Og det har jo en indflydelse. Så jeg tror, at inden for noget tid, så tror jeg, at 1.6 kommer til at dø lidt ud. Det skal jeg gerne udrømme.
Det tror du?
Det tror jeg.
Jeg var inde på din profil, ikke? På explain.com.
Ja.
Og der står der, jeg læser nu højt for quote, Tim Henriksen. Fri mig nu for fucking Source. Gider dårligt nok læse herinde længere.
Men bare fordi jeg siger, at der er andre, der spiller lortet, det var det ikke. Jeg gør. Altså, jeg synes, at det er et dårligt spil. Men
betyder det så, at hvis en anden dag Source bliver det, der kommer til at tage over i alle de store konkurrencer, som er lidt af det, der bestemmer, hvad alle andre gør, stopper du så med CS der?
Ja, det gør jeg. Altså. Men nu er jeg jo alligevel nået et punkt. Nu er jeg også stoppet endnu en gang, kan man sige, med at spille sådan for alvor. Jeg spiller meget sjældent, ikke? Og man kan også godt mærke, at det stille roligt på mit niveau. Jeg synes, jeg bliver dårligere og dårligere, må jeg indrømme. Og jeg har ikke tiden og lysten til at blive god til et andet spil igen. Altså, det har jeg simpelthen ikke.
Jeg har noget med til dig.
Okay.
Fordi jeg ringede til dine forældre. Få en tak. Og din kære bror, han har hjulpet mig lidt.
Okay.
Og din familie har hjulpet mig lidt. Med at give mig nogle billeder, som for dem har rigtig stor betydning. Jeg vil gerne have, at du hjælper mig med lige at forklare, hvad det er, der foregår her.
Okay.
Vil du gøre det for mig?
Det skal jeg nok.
Tak. Så tager vi det første op her. Det kommer på jeres skærm nu. Hvad er det, der lige sker her, Tim?
Det er fra...
Og jeg skal lige sige, det er Tim, der er klædt ud som Gandalf i blåt trylle-outfit.
Jeg tror faktisk, det er fra Slap, det der, eller et eller andet. Det var Sora, de ringede til mig. Jeg skulle til noget udklædningsfest hos en af min kærestes venner. Og de ringede så til mig på selve dagen og spurgte, om jeg ikke kunne hjælpe dem til det her lag. Og så sagde jeg, det kunne jeg altså ikke, fordi jeg skulle til den der fest.
Men du ser ud som om, du har haft det der på hele dagen jo. Altså som om, du har spillet sådan der, og nu er klar til at tage afsted.
Nej, det er ikke rigtigt. Men jeg lavede sådan en aftale med Sik, om han ikke lige kunne give mig et ride, når vi engang var færdige. Og så klædte jeg ellers om over i hallen og ventede på, at han gjorde sig klar. Og så driblede vi ellers afsted til fest.
Storslået. Det næste billede, det er jo et jeg personligt holder meget kært. Fordi jeg var der nemlig i egen høje person.
Det er faktisk fra vores første udenlandske event nogensinde. Det var dengang vi spillede Boomtown, vi skulle til Wipeout-lagen i Schweiz. Og jeg tror det var på færgen over til Tyskland. Også. Og der var der lige sådan en lille rushebane, der jeg var nødt til at prøve. Lægge mærke til garnet og hele mig. Altså,
hvad skete der for hårdt dengang? Var det grydetiden?
Jamen jeg havde bare ikke noget vokse i. Nå,
det er bare voksløs.
Dengang der var jeg inkarneret nørd, altså. Jeg var så ligeglad med piger. Jeg var så ligeglad. Så det kunne sgu være lige meget.
Så tænkte du på børnerutsjebaner og Counter-Strike.
Præcis.
Sådan skal det være. Tim, jeg vil bare sige rigtig mange tak, fordi du gad at kigge forbi vores dejlige studie.
Det var så lidt. Det skulle være en anden gang.
Held og lykke i fremtiden.
Jo, tak.
Giv mig noget kærlighed. Kom her.
Peace out.